This week, what we did, we listened to Petro-Dragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, an annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Oh shit, I got the wrong homework assignment.
Except we didn't, because they're fucking terrible. So Chris, what did we actually listen to? Because God knows I'm not listening to that shit.
First off, I've never listened to King Gizzard and the Lizard Gizzard. But
they are so many things that I hate about progressive music.
How dare you shit on a band with such a fun name to say?
I don't care. They are so many things I hate about progressive music.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to the Sound Judgment Podcast,
where every episode we'll be discussing all of the important musical topics, from reviews to which member of Motley Crue is the most vile.
I'm gonna judge the officials. I'm gonna judge all the judges. It's gonna take you people years to recover from all my opinions.
Well, anyways, I got the wrong homework assignment, Jeff. I listened to Jazz Goldblum.
Okay, I was actually kind of using this to forget. I didn't know where you wanted to start today. So we're starting with Jazz Goldblum. We're starting with Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra album, and rather it's an EP, is called Plays Well With Others.
Second release from that Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, from that, in fact, that Jeff Goldblum, because you genuinely were surprised when I told you that he had a new album out.
Yeah,
because he's a pretty fine jazz pianist, which I guess was not something you were aware of.
No, I knew that he was a jazz pianist. I didn't know that he was putting out music. I thought he was just a hobbyist.
I think he was just a hobbyist.
I was just saying, and to be fair, he
decades.
just recently put out his first album only like a year or two ago, right? And this is just the second EP.
Yeah, he's pretty new to actually, releasing and recording music as a jazz pianist. But I do believe he's been playing for decades.
That I was aware of. I didn't know he was recording. Do we want to do a what's your history with this artist where we do talk about Jurassic Park and The Fly?
Chris, I was literally going to ask that. I was literally going to say, it's time for my favorite question. What's your history with Jeff Goldblum?
I remember being 5 years old and watching Jurassic Park, and I really liked that movie, and also The Fly is great. He's in the best Thor movie, the only good one.
That is not the only good one. I like some of the Thor movies. He does, however, play one of the best characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I don't even know what that character's name is.
Me neither, that's why I ducked the question.
But I'm pretty sure all they did was, they hired him and said, okay, here's the deal. You're gonna put on this costume, and then we want you to be as awkward and uncomfortable as possible anytime the camera is facing you. And I think that's kind of all they did.
I mean, to be fair, they might have also just put the camera on him and said, be yourself, buddy.
I mean, that is possible.
He seems like an eccentric dude.
I think he is. I think he is a very odd man. But, okay, no. So rather than what's your history with the artist, because obviously you don't have a history with him as a musician, I do kind of want to ask a semi-related question, which this EP has 6 tracks on it. Are there any of these songs that you were familiar with previously?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of obscure covers, like in the Wee Small Hours in the Morning and Moon River. Yeah, I knew a few of them.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to know. What of these did you already know? And to what extent?
I mean, I know in the Wee Small Hours in the Morning and Don't Fence Me In, all right, and I know Moon River to some extent. The jazz is not my forte.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I knew those 3, and some of the other ones sounded familiar. I wouldn't be surprised if you just had them in the car, or if I heard them just hanging out with you and other music major people. Yeah, I was just genuinely curious, because there's this thing, especially when you have people who are not typically known as jazz artists, or they are new jazz artists, and they're recording among their first handful of albums. You take from the collections of the jazz standards, right? Yeah. And it's almost like this weird rite of passage where you have to do a handful of the really well-known songs because that's going to make people go, ooh, I'd love to hear this person who I don't think about sing a song that I know really well. But then you also have to mix it in with, like, lesser known tracks. It's almost like finding the deep cuts, right? You have to prove your worth.
You gotta hit the fan favorites.
Well, you have to hit the fan favorites, and you have to hit the ones that maybe not everyone knows, because you gotta prove that you know the songbook, right? Like, you gotta prove that you are worthy.
No, Jeff, I mean the elitist fan favorites. The ones who are like, no, I want to hear Territorial Pissings by Nirvana.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
The fan favorites.
Yeah. So it kind of made me wonder, because I was looking at this thinking, like, I think Moon River is probably the most well-known song, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe more people know Don't Fence Me In than I realize. Like, just because it's a song I know, I only know it because I heard the Bing Crosby recording because I used to work in nursing homes. You know what I mean?
I'd kind of put an argument for In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning.
See, I was going to say, or it's going to be In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning because it is a very famous, very famously recorded by Frank Sinatra. I was just sort of wondering where you sat on this, where you sat on the fence that we don't want to be in.
So I sit on Don't Fence Me In.
Anyway, we got 6 tracks. We got the instrumental, A Baptist Beat. We've got Don't Fence Me In, which is kind of a medley with Strollin', featuring, oddly enough, Kelly Clarkson on vocals, which was unique.
It's nice of him to find an obscure singer like that and make something out of it.
Yeah, it's really nice it's nice of him to bring, I mean, God knows how many awards she has. No, I think she fits somewhere, but we'll get to that. Moon River, featuring Mathilde Brown, who is a singer in a band called Mathilde. Her full name being Atina Mathilde Brown. I'll be honest, I did not previously know anything about her. I have no clue who she is.
The other 3 singers do seem to be kind of obscure.
Yeah, so then we have In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning instrumental. We have a version of I Wanna Be Around featuring Rodrigo Amarante. I'm thinking might be how he says his name. Again, not a name I know. And then Lazy Afternoon is with Frida Payne, who is not obscure by any stretch.
She had a couple hits, right?
In that she had hits decades ago. Like, she had hits in the
60s and 70s.
I'm gonna say 70s mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, she is, I believe, 80 years old now. So, but still, it's an interesting little mix here. Chris, do you wanna? Because I don't want to just dominate this. Do you want to get us started with any thoughts wherever you feel like?
Here's the thing: is I'm gonna be honest. Is that, like, we don't talk, like you've said many times, we don't really talk about the album before we do it, but we'll talk about like what we're gonna do in the session. And you said you could talk about this album as much or as little as I wanted, and that is great because on one hand, I'd also like to run this kind of short, but also I don't have much to say about this, not in a bad way, but I couldn't find a whole lot to say. Aside from Jeff Goldblum and this being called the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, I can't find any of the people who he's picked up to play, so I don't know if there's anyone who's significant in the jazz world. Not that I'd recognize their name if he did, but I can't even find, like, the band members, really. The songs are all covers. That's pretty typical of jazz. That's kind of
typical for the genre. Yeah, that's typical for this world of this specific style of jazz.
Yeah, and everyone in the band is really good. I mean, the title of the album is Plays Well with Others, and he really does. Everyone gets a chance to like shine on this. But I can't find a whole lot in terms of, like, there's not a whole lot of history to begin with. I guess they just, like, put out their first album in 2018. Other than that, I also am not sure if I know enough about jazz to, like, fairly critique this.
I don't think you need to know anything about jazz. I mean, this is Jeff Goldblum releasing music to the masses.
They tell me it's about the notes you don't play, Jeff.
that is a thing people say. They also say it's all about the butter notes. That's a Miles Davis quote.
Oh, I could go for some butter right now. I hear that the funk is between the 1 and the 3. Anyway, but
that's a Bootsy Collins quote, just in case anyone needed to know.
But Jeff Goldblum seems like a good pianist, but it seems like he makes some odd choices at times. But also, this is jazz, and also he's odd, so that's probably fine. I just like I was taken aback on the first, a Baptist beat where there's like a series of like solos that happens, and you get to Jeff Goldblum, he's like doot 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 doot. And I don't know, maybe that's typical of the song, but it was like, he's not really showing off on his first song here. But he is a good player. He has other solos. He obviously is playing the piano throughout the album. He's no slouch. It's just like that was an interesting solo. It was a very jazz move.
That's a solid way to put it. It was a very jazz move.
With all of that said, I don't know if this is an especially good or bad jazz album. You're the jazz guy here, but it's a fun album, and everyone seems like they're having a good time and jamming, and Jeff Goldblum looks like he's having a good time. Look at him smiling on that fucking Max Headroom nightmare of an album cover.
My God, you're not wrong. Oh, you are not wrong.
He is having a good time. He's happy, and I'm happy when Jeff Goldblum's happy.
That picture, I'm so glad that, like, you put into words what I've been trying to think of, like, what that picture's making me think of. Yeah, that picture, it's this very retro stylistic, like, cartoon. It's a pink background with a bunch of yellow circles on it, and then a, like, kind of oddly drawn, think, like, early 90s, late 80s, like, Rocko's Modern Lifestyle TV set.
I was about to say shit looks like Rocko's Modern Life, and then there's Jeff Goldblum.
Has that style.
There's Jeff Goldblum's smiling face, looking like Max Headroom washed out in black and white. Just they turned that contrast way up.
Like I'm ready for him to start glitching out. Very much so. Man, it's a great album cover though. Okay, so just a comment on a few things you said. And I apologize. I'm not going to quote you exactly because I don't remember exactly how you phrase things, but I'm going to try and get the sentiment. You're welcome to correct me at any time.
That's fine.
So Jeff Goldblum is definitely a fine piano player. I don't think he would stand out in a crowd among like more elite players, obviously. But I don't think that's anyone's point. That's no one in this album. That is not what anyone is trying to do. Nobody here is trying to show off. This very much is an album that exists just to be enjoyed. This is not an album that is trying to compare itself to the greats of all time. This is very much Jeff Goldblum and some other very talented musicians are just hanging out, recording some songs they enjoy, and having a good time.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's having fun making a vanity project. That's fine.
Yeah, kind of. Now, as far as who the other members of the band are, I'm agreeing with you. Like, I had a hard time finding who else is on this, and I'm sure if I owned the album, they're in the liner notes. I do not own a physical copy of this album yet. I feel like I need to, though. I am finding, I believe, that we have Alex Frank on bass, John Story on guitar, Joe Bragg on keys, and James King on saxophone. That is what I have found so far. Now, what I'm mostly curious about is if this is the same James King who, when you look up the name James King, you find that he was a member of the band Fritz and the Tantrums. And I'm wondering if it's the same person, but I don't have any way of finding out if that is or not. Regardless, it is a very talented group of people, but no one here is being flashy. No one here is trying to really show off. They're just trying to do the songs justice. So like I'm just sort of gonna go through here. Like let's do the standout things. Don't Fence Me In featuring Kelly Clarkson. On one hand, I think is a very odd choice because as you poked fun at earlier, like it's not exactly like they were trying to bring some fame back to somebody a little lesser known. They picked like one of the biggest artists of the past 10 years. That being said, it's an old country song, and that's kind of what she does pretty damn well. And it's, I think, a really nice recording of Don't Fence Me In.
She did well, and it's also a name to put on the album to get a little bit.
And also, it's another little name to get some people's attention. Don't Fence Me In. It's a tune written by Cole Porter and Robert Fletcher. It's from the 30s. Like I mentioned, I actually knew the Bing Crosby and Andrews Sisters recording first. Mm-hmm. That was my introduction to this song probably 10, 15 years ago. It was also made famous by Roy Rogers. and Frank Sinatra and about 3 million other people. Like, this is one of those standards that is very much a standard for a reason. Everyone and their mother will record a version of this song if you do, adult contemporary or jazz music of some sort. You're gonna do a recording of the song, it seems. It's not a bad song. It is not a song I particularly love by any stretch, though, to be perfectly honest with you. In the Wee Small Hours, on the other hand, written by David Mann and Bob Hilliard, this is like contender for one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, this is somewhere in that, if I were to make a Rolling Stones top 50, this is in there somewhere. Title track of a Frank Sinatra album from 1955, which is arguably the first concept album according to many people. Notably,
Whoa.
I want to say there's a video by Polyphonic on YouTube where I think he tries to, like, make his personal case for why he would call it the first concept album. And in a way, it kind of is, if you use the phrase concept album, meaning, like, all of the songs are on the same topic. This is certainly not like telling a story. We don't have, in the Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra is not telling the story of aliens or advanced AI or worshipping demons in your sleep or whatever. Not that kind of concept album that we're used to talking about.
I would love to hear, like, Frank Sinatra do, like, a Land of the Free type thing. Just,
you know what? Have you heard all those, like, AI recreations of songs? I guarantee someone can do it.
Sure.
It's out there, and quite frankly, I hate them. It's not interesting to me anymore. I'm kind of checked out. But they exist.
They sure
do.
So,
if you ever want to hear Freddie Mercury sing literally any song ever, somebody probably put it up on YouTube. But it's real dumb. So this, in the Wee Small Hours of the Morning, this recording, the new Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Stitzer Orchestra recording, is a lot of fun for, this is like a slightly nerding out moment reason here. It's not cited as also like being a medley with a song called Aguas de Marzo or Waters of March by Antonio Carlos Jobim, but it very much is a medley of these two. So it opens with this little guitar riff, which is an exact copy of like most recordings of Waters of March. That's just how it begins. A very specific rhythm on the same chord. And then after Jeff Goldblum goes through playing through the melody one time, it breaks into the sax solo, which starts, which plays the melody from Waters of March. It's a really fun mixture that they did there. Also doing in the Wee Small Hours of the Morning as a bossa nova tune is really cool. It's something I've heard a handful of people do before, but most people, when they want to do in the Wee Small Hours, they end up doing more like the Frank Sinatra arrangement, just like this slow ballad, which is fine. It's great. I think that's how the song was written, like intended. But I don't know. I'm a bossa nova sucker, so what the hell can I say?
Jeff wants you to think outside the box when you do your jazz covers.
Okay, hit and miss. It depends. It depends on how outside the box we're talking here.
Jeff wants you to think outside of your box, but in his.
Well, no, not quite.
Jeff wants to fence you in.
I don't. Oh my god. I hate this so much.
Started real positive, but now he's trying to fence music in.
I don't want to fence you in. No, my thing is, I mean, this is like with any cover. I love hearing someone do a version of a song differently than you're used to. But right. I have to throw in the within reason. There's something, there's too much of, like, oh, let's take this super happy bouncy song and play it as a slow ballad because we're being cool and edgy. It's, we've talked about this before. It's like the pop goes punk kind of thing. Or it's the any heavy metal cover of a pop song or a Disney. I found some band that half of what they do is like mallcore covers of Disney songs. And it might be the tackiest thing I have ever heard. So it's, I don't want to...
One time I heard a really sad rendition of Hey Ya, and I'm still fuming about it. Anyway.
Okay, but there is a fairly sad version of Hey Ya by Obadiah Parker, which is legitimately really good. It's not, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it sad, but it is like slowed down acoustic. It was someone just like trying to bring the lyrics to the forefront, not like whatever the hell Sleep Token was doing.
But you're saying you don't want the Children of Bodom version of In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning?
No. Partly because that means, Alexi's dead. So that's a little hard.
Oh.
But also just because, no, I don't find that interesting or funny. I don't want to hear any more of that. But I do like when someone decides to do something a little different. Add a flair to it. Make it something vaguely new. I don't need I don't want... So the problem with jazz, right, is you have the standards, and they all have, a style that they were intended to be performed in originally, and maybe somewhere along the lines there was a recording, maybe the song was a slow ballad, but then somebody comes out with some big swinging arrangement of it in the late 60s, and then everyone has done it kind of like that ever since. I wouldn't mind a new take of some sort, but at the same time, I also don't necessarily want it to be a, super modern, progressive fusion arrangement. Alright, I don't need a rock, jazz, funk fusion arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon. I'm not asking for this. Nobody wants this. Maybe somebody wants this. I'm not one of them. I sure as hell don't.
I'll give it a shot.
But I also don't want to fall into the Michael Bublé Christmas album trap, where half the songs are the exact arrangements that were done by somebody else. What I do want is what the Michael Bublé arrangement of Quando, Quando, Quando is, where, most famously it's a much bigger up-tempo swing song, and the Michael Bublé recording is a much more low-key ballad, and it's a really nice new take on an old song.
Okay.
So yeah, but without a doubt, In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning, this is such an amazing recording. I am a little sad as an instrumental, because this is one of those songs that I do think the lyrics were a huge part of what makes this song the song.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad there isn't that. I would love if there was just one verse. If they just sang through it one time, I thought would have been great. But otherwise, this is such a phenomenal recording. It's just so well done. It's classy. It's fairly simple. It's just great.
Well, you have to hit all three kinds of jazz songs, Jeff, which, if I'm not mistaken, the three kinds of jazz songs are jam instrumental, songs about loving someone you've literally just met, and hating your partner.
Not quite, but there are a lot that fit into those three. Although the hating your partner thing feels more like a Ben Folds shtick.
Well, we can talk about I Want to Be Around.
So I Want to Be Around. This is a song that I will admit I recognized, but don't really know. It is a Johnny Mercer song. Credits also go to a woman named Sadie Vimmerstead, and apparently the story goes that this Sadie woman was someone who Johnny Mercer knew, and she was inspired by Frank Sinatra leaving his wife Ava Gardner at the time, and she came up with the line, the general phrase of I want to be around to watch you be miserable, basically.
Yeah.
What a vindictive concept, but it makes for a really fun song. And as I mentioned before, this is the song that features Rodrigo Amorente as...
Give me some good R rollings. He did good the first time.
Amorente. Did I not do it?
There
I'm sorry. Rodrigo Amorente?
There you go.
That better?
That was great.
The
first time you said it, you rolled every R, and that time you only did it Amorente.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to. Because the problem is I don't actually know how it's said. I couldn't find a recording of whatever.
That's
anyway.
Fine. We just want more rolled R's.
We want more rolled R's.
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
Anyway, this is a really fun song. It's a really great recording. And then, of course, I mean, Lazy Afternoon, again, where we have, I believe, 80-year-old Frida Payne.
Frida Payne.
Frida Payne. Ooh, not Pine. Why did I say it like that? That was weird.
Did you get Irish there for a second?
I don't know what happened. I'm trying way too hard to say names correctly because I'm not good at it. And here we go. Again, it's another wonderful recording. It's not one I'm gonna come back to. Ultimately, this is a really fun album. Like I said at the beginning, this is not anyone trying to be flashy. This is no one trying to show off. This is not trying to redefine what jazz is. This is Jeff Goldblum has an appreciation for this style of music. He found other people who have an appreciation for this style of music, and they did recordings of a handful of songs they really enjoy. It's great for what it is. I want a physical copy of this, even if just to get the vinyl, because I want a large copy of the album cover to hang somewhere, because it's absolutely hysterical looking.
Right over my bed. I want Jeff Goldblum smiling down on me when I go to sleep.
Well, no, because I have the Beatles and LaRue over my bed.
That's fine.
So I don't really... I mean, I don't know.
You can live your life how you see fit, Jeff, but I want Jeff Goldblum smiling down on me like God.
I could put a vinyl record next to Ellie Jackson on the wall above my bed. I could do that.
Just to know he's smiling down on you like that.
You know what? This is true. Anyway, this is fun. This is a really nice little EP.
I think fun is the right word.
If you enjoyed this, I absolutely recommend the previous album. And it is a full album. It's just called the Capitol Studio Sessions. It's a live album. And it's significantly longer. Hold on, real quick. It's 14 tracks long. And again, it's a lot of hit and miss. Some of these are much more popular tunes, and some are a little more obscure. Nothing's absolutely crazy here. Nothing's a real deep cut. But it's a fun mix, and it is just like an hour of these people having a damn good time playing music they enjoy.
Right.
I cannot fault this in any way, shape, or form.
Agreed.
You wanna give this a rating? I will say straight out, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It proves its point very well. It's wonderful and fun. That is all I'd expect from it. It is a little quirky, but it's wonderful and fun.
I can agree with that. Like you said, fun is the operative word here. I mean, at the end of the day, you could put out like a fucking technical masterpiece of a jazz album and be fucking boring as shit. Everyone here is having a good time. I had a good time listening to it. This is a good time.
Good time.
It's almost as good as The Fly. Almost.
Really? Is that
almost?
That's your review? Almost as good as The Fly?
I'm gonna give this Jurassic Park 3 out of 5. Help me! That's more the Vincent Price Fly, but that's fine.